When I was born, the doctors immediately gave my parents a long list of things that, oh, your son's never going to be able to dress himself. Your son's never going to be able to feed himself, live independently, have a career. And where would where would I be if my parents listened to these people, right?
Do you ever sit down and really think about what's keeping you from your goals? A lot of us, when we do this kind of exercise, we sit down and we write down all the obstacles we face, everything the outside world is imposing on us. And I think that's why success is so difficult and why so many people aren't where they want to be in life. It's because they use the world as an excuse. Nick Santonastasso, he's a different story. From the moment he came to life on this planet, he was beset with difficulties that most of us can't comprehend. Born without legs and with underdeveloped arms, Nick had a lot to prove in this life. And he's done it. And the best part about Nick is that he's doing it with gratitude in his heart and with a smile on his face. What Nick's demonstrated is that you can turn any obstacle into an advantage. You can turn a handicap into a strength. And you can aspire to greatness as long as you understand one thing: nobody else is going to do it for you. You're the only person who can get you there. We were lucky enough to sit down with Nick today to talk about him, his journey, his bodybuilding career, and his latest ventures on this episode of the Warrior Soul podcast. And I have to say, it's one of the most inspirational podcasts we've ever put out. So if you can, right now, take an hour out of your day to learn some lessons about life from someone who's truly living. Nick Santonastasso on episode number 75 of the Warrior Soul podcast. 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Warrior Soul podcast. And today we have the privilege of speaking to Nick Santonastasso. Am I pronouncing that right, Nick?
You got it. It's pretty good.
Is that Italian, man?
Yes, it's Italian.
I'm Italian as well. My mom's maiden name is Palmatessa.
Okay. Yeah,
Awesome.
You are Italian.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So Nick was born with Hanhart Syndrome, and he was born with no legs. He's got an underdeveloped arm on one side and then a fully developed arm with one finger on the other side. But the cool thing about Nick is that he's never let this get him down. I was reading a story about his father talking about when he was 2 years old, he found him dancing on a table. Apparently Nick had wheeled over to the table, climbed out of his seat, and then jumped on the table and was dancing to MTV. And then ever since then, we find Nick competing in wrestling. He's bodybuilding. He's pulling pranks on the cast members of Walking Dead, and he's got millions of views on Vine because of these pranks, and those are pretty cool, and we'll get into those as well. But Nick, man, what drives this determination in you?
I think what drives the determination in me is it's how my parents raised me, because I feel like my parents could have raised me very sheltered and very, babied, not letting me fall on my face, basically, to be honest. So when I was born, I was born with Hanhart Syndrome, super rare genetic disorder. At the time, I was the 12th baby in medical history that they've ever seen it happen to. And they didn't know if my organs were going to be 100% healthy, because it either leaves the babies with undeveloped organs or undeveloped limbs. So in my case, I was born and my organs were 100% healthy. And so I beat that 30% chance to live. And my parents promised each other, I'm the baby. I have 3 other siblings. I have 2 sisters and 1 brother. And my parents promised each other that they were going to raise me just like the other kids. And I think that was extremely important, because from the earliest of ages, my parents sat me down and said, Nick, the world's not going to stop for you because you're born like this. Although that would be nice, that's not reality. And your job is to figure out how to do each and everything Nick's way. And I think that's what started me being so creative in the way I go about, daily things. And for example, my parents would put, clothes in front of me and say, figure it out. And they would sit there and watch me try to, put it on, or, hey, Nick, try it this way. Or, they'd put food in front of me with a spoon and say, figure it out. And I remember they would put like cereal in front of me, and I got smart enough to realize that me trying to pick up a spoon was a lot slower than licking my finger, getting the cereal and eating it that way. So I feel like, the way they raised me, the way they put, obstacles in front of me, I was just always used to, okay, well, if I don't know how to do it, how am I going to do it? So I feel like I was very creative and very determined from a very young age.
That's so important. And what they taught you to get away from was the victim mentality. You literally have never been a victim in your life. And I think so many people don't realize how important that is. This planet's been testing living things from the beginning of time to see if they're fit to live on the planet. And it's up to each and every one of us to figure that stuff out. And I think that's such a valuable tool and a valuable lesson.
Absolutely. Like I said, I think I was just very used to, I feel like most things were a challenge for me. Most things in my daily life were a challenge for me. So I was just very used to, even at a young age, putting myself in these situations where I'm uncomfortable. And that's where the most growth comes, when you put yourself in uncomfortable situations where you just don't know how you're going to do it, but you accept the challenge and figure it out in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. If you hear some growling in the background here, my dog Piper is sitting underneath me, and there's somebody walking outside. That's not me growling at all.
That's not me either.
Man, so when you were a kid, did you realize that you had a disability in the first place, or was there a point where you actually realized that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So to be honest, from all the years before middle school, I didn't really notice I was different too much. I didn't notice the fact that I was in a wheelchair. I didn't really notice that, the aide sitting next to me in the classroom was a little bit different. To be honest, I was just a kid, like being a kid. And I think it's funny because that's when our mind isn't, gets toxic about what other people think about you. You're so pure, your head's so pure at that time. So I think, that time I really didn't realize I was different up until middle school and early ages of high school. And I labeled that as my lowest point.
So why was that your lowest point? I know that that's a crazy age. That was like the worst time in my fucking life. Like I couldn't stand middle school, but why was it your lowest point?
So I think and I always say this when I speak and to whoever I'm speaking to, I say, I think we can all agree that middle school and high school are probably the most judgmental times of your life, It's just like a spiral of events, puberty, going through all these things. And, now everyone's so judgmental, and who wears what, who wears the best clothing, whatever it may be. And middle school was kind of like, okay, like, wow, like I kind of got a glimpse of, how different I was compared to the other kids. And at that point, I labeled it my lowest point because I was not only out of shape, but I wasn't comfortable in my skin. I wasn't comfortable with my body. And to be honest, I hated the fact that I was born with this, like this. And it got to the point where my big question was why? And I was basically angry at the world, God, universe, whoever made me like this. Why did you make me like this? Why do I have to go through these challenges? These kids don't know what I'm going through. Why me? And that was my big question, was trying to find my why during that time. And, at one point, I didn't want to live in this body anymore. And, thoughts of suicide came into my head. Maybe that's the way. Maybe, I just, like I said, I didn't know what to do. A young kid, and I hated the fact that I was born like this. And surprisingly, I knew that I got into high school, and I realized that the only person that's going to make a drastic change in your life, whether that's physically, financially, emotionally, spiritually, whatever it may be, if you don't feel good, you're the only person that can make that change and make you feel good again. No one else can do that for you. It's your life. So here I am as, a 15, 16-year-old kid figuring out, okay, like, what is going to make me feel good about myself? What is going to instill confidence in me? Because if I feel more confident about myself, I can carry myself better. And And that's one of that's basically the topic I'm writing in my book about, but I'll get into that. And so, I was on a journey to find something that was going to make me feel good about myself, make me feel fulfilled, and basically just feel comfortable in my skin. And that's where wrestling came in. And wrestling saved my life. I wholeheartedly believe wrestling saved my life. At the time, all my best friends were wrestlers for the high school. And my older brother was also a wrestler for that high school, and he graduated. And ever since middle school, the coaches wanted me to get into wrestling. They just said, this would be so cool. But at the time, this arm was a little bit longer than it is now. And the bone was growing faster than the skin. So it was very tight. Like, my arm was very pointy. It was like the skin around it was very thin. So like if I banged it up pretty good, I think the bone would have came through. So it was very painful. I used to like tuck it away because I didn't want to hit it on anything. And I came home one day and I said, Mom and Dad, I want to be a wrestler. And, my parents supported me in everything and anything I ever wanted to do in life. But this one, they were like, this is super dangerous with your arm. Like, you can't, it's too dangerous. And I said, well, let's amputate my arm. Can we shorten it? Can we do something with it? And they kind of looked at me like, Nick, like, come on. And I'm like, no, I want to go ahead and do this. I know that me being a part of a wrestling team, me being labeled as an athlete, me being just, a part of something will make me feel better about myself. And so, like anything I do in life, I tell people you either do it 110% or you're wasting your time and you're selling yourself short. So we made the decision to go ahead my sophomore year to amputate my arm. And so it was a couple inches longer than it is now. And what they did was they lasered it off and basically did a skin graft. So they pulled extra skin over and basically made a pillow, a padding over my arm for me so I can bang it up. And I went into wrestling. Do you want me to keep going? I know I'm just like...
No, man. Of course I do. But
okay.
That's just a fascinating story to me as far as... You know who Walter Payton was, the football player?
Yep.
He actually had a finger removed in order to play football because it was...
I didn't know that.
He had it injured so bad. But this is like 40 times more hardcore than that is as far as being able to wrestle. And man, that's some absolute dedication to trying to make yourself better and to trying to make yourself get into a better place in life.
Absolutely.
And
go ahead.
Oh, what I was going to say too is wrestling in and of itself, man, that sport, I don't know why more high schools don't have that sport. I was a wrestler in high school as well. And I have to say that that sport had the greatest influence on my life more than anything. And because it's the only sport that truly teaches personal discipline. You've got to make weight. You've got to make sure you're drilling. The practices are absolutely brutal. And I don't know if you know this, but there's a very, very high percentage of successful people who are wrestlers.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, high school wrestling has had a major influence on the leadership of this country, both in business, politics, and in all other venues.
Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, so, wow, you kind of that like took. I'm blown away by that. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool, and that you wrestled. That's awesome. And so, yeah, me going into wrestling. The one thing that I want to circle back is that the only limitation or challenge that I saw I had was the fact that my arm hurt. It wasn't the fact that I had no legs and one arm, because I was confident in my ability, and my hard work and consistency would make up for my lack of limbs. And that in itself it starts with you. It starts with you in anything, whether it's a business plan or whatever kind of goals you're trying to hit this year or this month, whatever it may be. If you yourself don't believe in your vision, you can't expect other people to support you. You can't expect other people to, believe in you. But even in that, the only person that needs to believe in you is you. It doesn't really matter what other people say. My whole life, people threw limitations at me. From when I was born, the doctors handed my parents basically a list and said, these are all the things your son won't be able to do. Your son won't be able to be independent or feed himself or dress himself. And, where would where would we be? Where would I be? Where would you be? Where would we all be if we continuously listened to the people that said, "Oh, you can't do that," or tried to put their what they think limits are on us, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I think, in a lot of cases, and this translates over to the veteran community as well. You know, we have this dependence on doctors to tell us what to do. This dependence on them to tell us what medications we should be putting in our bodies, and I think it's had a really big deleterious effect on the recovery of a lot of veterans in this community. And I think, you know, just these lessons that you're putting out there about, you know, taking responsibility for yourself and finding things that can challenge you. That's such a great lesson for anybody, you know, whether you're a veteran, whether you have a disability, whether you're just a normal person who's trying to get by in life. If you're not being called to action, you have to call yourself to action. That's a huge thing.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. So I just knew that if I worked hard enough, you know, if I really set my mind to something, that it would make up for my lack of limbs. So, you know, we went ahead and we did the amputation, did the recovery and everything. And my junior year, I tried out for my wrestling team, and we know you have your JV and your varsity. So junior year, you know, I told my buddies, everyone in the room, I'm like, you know, I was the lightest weight. So I was with the light guys. I'm like, you know, like, beat me up. I never wrestled, you know, I need to get put through the, you know, a butt whooping. I need to get my ass kicked so I can learn what I need to learn to become a better wrestler. Because if people are like not going 110% on me, then I'll never know what it feels like, you know, when I'm out there. So my junior year, I got my butt kicked like I wanted. And, you know, I found out things, you know, that I needed to work on. And that's a part of embracing failure. And I always say, you know, failure is my best friend throughout life. Everything that I attempted at, everything that I wanted to do, I fell on my face, you know, at least once. Most of the time, a couple hundred times, but, you know, at least once I failed at something. And, you know, I always say the majority of people, when I say the word failure, you're immediately going to associate it with negative. But if we can switch that mindset and start embracing failure, because there's so much that comes from failing. There's so much good. It's all good. You know, there's so many different approaches you can now take. There's so many different tactics or different ways you can go about things, different perspectives you learn from falling on your face and, you know, just putting yourself out there. So I was like, you know, go kick my ass, you know, go as hard as you can. And they did. And there was practices where, you know, I'm crying in the room because I can't get a takedown, and I can't get out of the circle because you got to get a certain number of takedowns to move on. And like you said, I wrestling really showed me how far I could push myself physically, but mentally, because like it's a total mental sport, you know, just stopping yourself from not going crazy just from, you know, the practices, the heat, you know, whatever it may be. So my junior year, you know, I got my butt kicked, and I realized some of the things real quick. I realized that I needed to strengthen my neck. So when people try to head palm me or anything, that I was solid, you know? So I would do back bridges, and I'd do back bridges till I couldn't anymore, you know, strengthen my neck, or I'd have someone, you know, put their palm on my head, and I'd do like reps up, reps left and right, you know, anything to strengthen me. And because I knew if I wanted to get the varsity, most of the time I was so new, most of the times I may not win, but if I didn't give up a pin, that was a win, because, you know, kids were going to their back and giving up the full 6 points. If I can give up a tech, you know, that's not as many points as, you know, a pin. And trust me, I was pretty good at neck bridging. My neck bridge was pretty good.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So my senior year, I came back out for the wrestling team, and I was the Central Regional 106 varsity, 106-pound varsity wrestler for my high school. And that was like, I always say, you know, Nick's confidence meter jumped up a little bit. You know,
Mm-hmm.
It was reassurance of what I was capable of doing when I really set my mind to something. And this is where the whole, you know, wrestling saved my life, the whole shift happened. You know, I finally got my answer to my why is, I was doing the pranks, which we'll get into, but I would have gymnasiums packed to watch me wrestle. And I'll be the first one to let you know that I wasn't the best wrestler. My senior year, I was like 3-16, but those were like 2 more wins than I got my last year. So I was happy with that. And I was like, why? I'm a very competitive person. I'm like, why is there so many people out here, want to watch me wrestle? And why do I get a standing ovation every time I get off the mat? And when I went on the mat, I gave it my all. I went up against, I don't know if you know what like districts and regions are.
Yeah. We have them out here in California too. I grew up in Connecticut. We had the states and we had counties. In Connecticut, but
absolutely.
You were in New York, was it?
I was in Jersey.
Jersey. That's my mom's home state. Yeah. We have the districts and the regions here too.
Yeah. So for those who are listening that may not know what that is when you wrestle, it's a team sport until the end where you wrestle for individuals. So you go into the districts, and if you make it out of districts, you go to regions, and if you make it out of the regional tournament, you go to the states. I remember wrestling a regional placer, and it was home, and he kept trying to cement mix me, and I was just so good at locking down and just saying bunkered, and I remember his coach was yelling him, stick him already, stick him, and that kid could not pin me, and he had to tech me. So just like things like that. But yeah, here I am, like why are these people coming to watch me wrestle? I'm not that good. I'm not, like I said, I'll be the first one to admit I wasn't that good. And I came off the mat one time, and I had a teacher come up, maybe a teacher, maybe an adult, and maybe just an adult, not a teacher. And they said, Nick, like teary-eyed, and I'm like, oh God, like what did I do? And they're like, my son or my daughter never wanted to do an extracurricular activity, never wanted to do a sport, but they saw you out there today, and they were like, oh, I want to try all these things. If this kid's out there, like I want to try it. And here I am, 17, 18-year-old kid. I'm like, whoa, like slow down. Like I realized it clicked that like I have so much impact on people by just living my life to the fullest, just putting myself out there and trying new things. It's an example for others. And I didn't realize that, I didn't really, still to this day, it's kind of hard for me to believe how much impact I have on people, because for me, it's Nick doing Nick, I'm just living life. And that's where, I found my why. I'm like, okay, I literally, wasn't like, not in a cocky way. I wasn't even trying to impact people. I was just like doing my sport, wrestling, and I was impacting people. And I was like, wow, like I'm on this earth to be an example for others, to show them what they are capable of doing if they really want something. And that's when Vine came in.
Well, let me stop you there, because I want to get into Vine and that whole story as well. But just
cut me off whatever.
Yeah, no, it's all good, man. But I just want to go over some of these lessons from high school wrestling and in that experience that you had. You mentioned the feeling of failing, the feeling of being in the center of the ring, the center of the circle, not being able to get a takedown and get out of the circle. You mentioned, just that kind of that feeling you get when you are failing at something, and in the moment it hurts really, really bad. But without that failure, there is no chance for greatness. And what I mean by that is that your greatness in and of itself was shaped by your failures almost more than your successes, and that
Absolutely.
determination, that desire to get better. And so I wouldn't even call those failures. I would say those are defeats, but they're not failures, and that's one of the things that I think people lack in this society. We're so set on, we look on the internet, we see people making money, we see people becoming social media famous, we see all this stuff. And there's this huge fear amongst people out there that if they try something, if they put themselves out there, if they put their neck out there, they're going to fail. But I think really failing means you never really tried, or that you gave up, right?
Yeah. That's perfect. I mean, yeah, failure, or just like defeats, let's call them defeats, that's, like I said, that's where the most growth comes from, because you can either do two things. You can turn around and quit, or you can figure out what you need to do to move forward. And us as humans, we are addicted to progress. And when you start seeing that you're getting just a little better at something that you were not so good at, that drives you. So once you get a taste of that progress, and once you see yourself like, wow, I'm putting in the work and I'm improving, it builds momentum. So I feel like people need to get over that, the first initial defeat, the first initial, slap on the wrist, or you're just like, wow, like, what do I do? And so instead of just like, which I feel like kids nowadays, if something's hard, just give up, but I feel like if they can get over that first initial thing and realize like, okay, well, I'm not good at this, let me work at it. And then once they feel that, once they see that progress and feel it, it drives you.
Yeah. After 20 years of not wrestling, and I did a little bit of grappling in the Marine Corps, but after 20 years of not wrestling, I went into a jiu-jitsu class last year and got choked out by somebody half my size. And I was like, I gotta learn more about this stuff, because if somebody half my size can do that to me, it's gonna be something that I need to learn. Was there anybody during this time period outside of your parents, or potentially your wrestling coach, or anybody, was there anybody who really guided you along as far as learning these lessons?
I feel like, my friends played a huge role in keeping me, right, with wrestling, not quitting, because it was extremely hard. But the one thing that I realized in the room, that it was mutual, when we were all getting our butt kicks in the room, right, and the coach is just like, just drilling us, just killing us, and like they look over and I could crack a smile, like, they're like, dude, if this kid's like, if this kid's like getting his butt kicked but like still cracking a smile, like, let's go, let's keep going. And so I feel like, my friends, us just having that relationship and bouncing our energy back and forth, and just holding each other accountable, but keeping each other motivated, was huge for me.
Yeah, that's the best, is when you're in a really shitty situation and somebody can crack a joke, or somebody can crack a smile. That's the best. I mean, that's what builds camaraderie, and that's the stuff you remember. So, yeah. So tell me about Vine. I know you had a lot of these short videos out there, but how'd you get into it in the first place? How'd you get exposed to it?
Yeah. So, I was a senior in high school when Vine started, and it was hot. Like, everyone in school was using Vine, just posting whatever they wanted to post in school or whatnot. And wrestling, that whole wrestling part gave me enough confidence to put myself out there on the internet. And I feel like that was huge, because we can both agree again that the internet can be a very nasty place, and there's a lot on the internet. So I realized I saw the taste of how much impact I have on people. So I was like, okay, I want to find out a way where I can not only inspire people but make them laugh, because it's a great gift if you can make people laugh, And I sat around and I said, well, if I figure out something that has never been done before, a video that has never been done before and never been seen, then it's gonna catch. It's gotta catch. No one's ever seen it before, right? So I was like, well, I don't think there's many legless dudes pretending to be zombies crawling around Walmart. And so, my buddies, we came up with this idea, and I went to Walmart, and I had just regular clothes on, but I just like put some fake blood on me. Mm-hmm. And there was a guy holding paper towels, and I came around the corner and I did my zombie screech, and he threw the paper towels on my head. And it was like perfect 6-second clip. Like, and Vine was 6 seconds. For those of you who don't know, Vine was an app where you could post 6-second videos. You had to be as creative as you can in 6 seconds, which was pretty difficult. And so, I was like, and like I said, the whole vision behind these videos was if an adult or a kid could see, like, wow, like look how happy Nick is in a situation. Mm-hmm. I could be happy in mine, or they could start improving whatever they're trying to go through. Because, I know what it felt like to hate myself, you know, and I didn't want other people to feel like that. I didn't want to, you know, and I know there's people out there still today that, you know, are going through that. So I just wanted to help. I wanted to build an outlet, like I said, where I can make people laugh and inspire them. And I filmed that video, and it was a school night. And I said, you know, if this reaches 500 people, you know, I'm winning, you know, because at least, you know, a couple people out of that 500, you know, got that message that I wanted to get across. And I woke up the next morning for school, and it had over 80,000 likes, over 80,000 revines, which means like reposts. And it went internationally viral. And, you know, like internationally, like Africa, you name it, like news articles all over. And the main title was NJ Teen Born with Disability Turns into a Positive. And nice. I was like, that's what I wanted. Like, boom, like, Nick, you did it. Like, and I caught momentum. I was like, I need to keep doing fun. I need to just put myself out there in a funny way. People love it. And that led me to I gained a million followers in under a year on Vine. And I got this, you know, so-called internet, you know, fame with the pranking everything. And that's when, you know, I was like the zombie king. Like, you know, my videos were just like killing it. And that's when Fox International contacted me. They said, hey, Andrew Lincoln, who plays Rick Grimes, the sheriff, he was like, we want to pull a prank on Norman Reedus as a company, and you know, we want you to be our guy. Like, you're perfect. So here I am, 18-year-old kid, and they're like, you know, we want to fly you out to Tokyo, Japan. You can bring your family. Like, and they hired me, and you know, I did this basically. You know, we planned this viral video on Norman Reedus.
That's pretty awesome. I watched that video, and he took it really, really well. He was a little bit scared, but he took it really, really well. He seems like a really chill guy. Yeah,
and it was funny because at the end he's like, so the funny thing is he knew about me previously through my videos. Because my videos were so, you know, zombie, that's just his realm. And so they saw my videos. And so when I flew into Japan, they were like, okay, these are the times you have to stay in your hotel room, because when Norman lands and if he sees you, he's going to know what's going on. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty cool. We had to be like, you know, pretty secretive about it. But yeah, it was a crazy, crazy experience. And, you know, that trip to Japan inspired my whole sleeve on my arm. It's all Japanese culture.
That's awesome. Yeah. Were you nervous when you were coming out and going after Norman? Were you like extra zombified because of it, or?
I remember. So we did like 4 hours of makeup, and then, you know, it was they put me in a trolley like with snacks on top, so I was under it, and they pushed me in, and then like, you know, you could see shadows, but and I'm like, so like it was him and the two ladies with the camera, and then they were like, you know, the camera battery's working, we got to switch it out. And then when they left, I'm like, oh my God, like it's just me and Norman Reedus in a room right now. And I was thinking to myself, like, I hope I can get something out. Like, I hope I can get my zombie screech out, because if I just jump out of the trolley and be like nothing's going to hit me. So like I was like scared. I was like, I hope like something comes out of my, you know, mouth. And, but it did. And it was great. I mean, it went super good. So I was really happy.
That's awesome. So since Vine, right? So we know, I think Vine got taken, or it shut down for a while. Have you found other outlets? I know you're on Instagram. I know you're on YouTube. Which one are you focusing on right now?
Right now, my main one is Instagram. I've been building that up. I just hit like 386,000 followers on Instagram, and that Instagram is where I started fitness, where I started, you know, the whole fitness scheme, if you want me to go into that.
Yeah, I will.
So after Vine shut down, it was either, you know, go to YouTube or make Facebook videos. But I realized, you know, and I still think about it to this day, like what if I kept doing funny videos? But I realized that, you know, I had much more potential, and I was much more than just a prankster. You know, when I was 30, 40, 50 years old, I didn't want to just be labeled as that guy that crawled around Walmart, you know? So that was like the hungry part of me, the competitive side of me. And from a business standpoint, I'm like, okay, one of the things that I was always drawn to was, you know, people that were in shape. And I think it was the fact that I to myself, I didn't really know if like, Nick, could you get in shape? Like, could you work out? Because like, it's totally different. It's like, I haven't seen anyone do it in my situation. So I'm like, I wonder, you know, if I could do that. And from a business standpoint, you know, I knew you can't buy a fit body, right? You know, you work for this body. So like if I got in, you know, sick enough shape, it's extremely marketable because like I said, it's not fake. It's so real. Like I did this, you know, through the training and everything, I did it. And this goes back to the confidence thing. You know, I didn't know anything about bodybuilding. I didn't know anything about lifting, but I was confident in my ability to learn what I needed to learn and implement it to get to my vision. And that's all it is for people. You know, like I said, whether it's goals you want to hit or, you know, a business plan you want to, you know, get through, you just have to be confident in your ability to learn what you need to learn and implement. We can learn anything we want in this world. You know, we just got to put it to work. So for the first, you know, I made an announcement to everyone. I said, you know, guys, I don't want to do the pranks anymore. You know, this is what I want to do. And I said it. I said, I'm going to become a fitness model. I'm going to become a bodybuilder. I want to break into the mainstream modeling industry, and I want to become a keynote speaker. And I said, these are the things that are in front of me, and I'm going to work towards them. And if you want to support me, you support me. If you don't, I appreciate the support through the past adventures. And, you know, I took a lot of heat because like I said, my pranks were hot, and then I just like stopped. But it was something I didn't want to do it anymore. I wanted to do something else. And so for the first year, my best friend, one of the friends that I wrestled with in high school, we got into the gym, and I got into the gym with a couple buddies, and I'm so grateful for these people that, you know, took their time and helped me just like basically just go into the gym and figure out ways for me. But for the first year, me posting these videos, I was losing followers. They weren't really hot, and I don't blame them because I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I was this out of shape kid and not lifting correctly. You know, all that stuff. So it was to figure out what I needed to do. It was literally going into the gym and basically trial and error. You know,
I've seen some of your videos with you lifting. I saw. You know, the one with that one-legged monster from Instagram. Great guy too.
Casey, my man.
Yep. And I saw the method of bench pressing you were doing, and I was like, wow, that had to be from trial and error, literally going into the gym, trying a bunch of stuff, and then figuring out which works best. And I think that's awesome. How long was your experimentation period, or is that still constantly?
It's still going, man. And we're still learning each and every day more efficient ways to, you know, contract muscle. So like I said, it was going into the gym and figuring out, you know, positions. Where do I have to sit to hit this muscle, or what kind of equipment do I have to use this, or what kind of, you know, band rig up do we have to do so I can contract? You know, dude, like we're still learning, and that's the beautiful part about everything is each and every day we have the opportunity to learn more than we did, you know, yesterday. So for the first year, you know, people didn't really take me serious, and I wanted to break into the fitness industry. You know, I was determined, and my knowledge in nutrition got better. You know, I started getting, you know, help from other people with training, with dieting, and so I started to get leaner, and you know, just things were improving, and I would post, you know, transformation pictures so you could see the gradual difference in my body, and people started to catch on. It's funny, I used to pay Instagram accounts to post my videos so I could get out there more. And because like I said, that just even to me the videos weren't impressive, so like I just needed to keep getting myself out there. And then my physique started to change, and you know, people caught on, and that's when I landed my first supplement sponsor, which was Cage Muscle, and they were highly rated on bodybuilding.com, and that was like a good stepping stone for me and a confidence booster for me, because you know, I was like, boom, like I landed a sponsorship, like I can do anything. You know, it was just like reassurance for me, a recharge. And then, you know, I got even more hungry, and my body got even better, and that's when Reebok contacted me to work on the Be More Human campaign, and that was the same campaign that JJ Watt and Conor McGregor were on. So I got to film, like, you know, this super cool video at my hometown gym. You know, Reebok flew out, and we filmed this super dope video, And, that was just like another recharge, another, reassurance for me that, like my work is working. Like I'm putting it out there and people are starting to catch on. And, from there, I mean, like I said, my knowledge and everything got better. I was implementing things. I was learning each and every day. And then I just about, I'd say 9 or 10 months ago, I made the decision that I wanted to get on the competitive bodybuilding stage. And I wanted to compete in men's physique and, make history because no one's ever stepped on stage looking like me. Mm-hmm. And so my following was growing. I think I was a little bit over 200K followers. And, I said, I promised myself, I promised my family, and I promised my fan base that I was going to step on the stage before the end of 2017. So basically showing people that, I don't know how to compete. I don't know how to do the posing. I don't know anything, but I'm going to put myself in this extremely uncomfortable situation because there's massive growth in these situations. I'm going to learn what I need to learn, and then I'm going to come out smarter, more sharpened than I was before the show. And for me, whenever I do things, there's always a message behind it. There's always something that I want to get across. And for me, it was for a business standpoint, I was getting in front of new faces. I was getting in front of the competitive bodybuilding world, but I was also showing people like, like this kid knew that he didn't know anything about the show. This kid knew that his symmetry wasn't going to be where he wanted to be, but he was still going to put himself on stage for people to judge him. Like, I just wanted to show people like, go out, try things, try everything, because like life is too short to just like live with like so many what ifs. Right. So I hyped up. Yeah. You want to go?
Yeah.
ahead?
Real quick. I want to ask you about this process. Right. So did you, what's your diet like? What were you putting in your body?
So before the competition, before this, like me super getting into fitness, I had a previous mentor that would own a meal prep company, and he would send me meals, and I wasn't really counting macros. Like I wasn't counting protein, carbs, or fats. I was just like, okay, I'm going to eat 4 consistent meals a day, and trial and error, see how my body reacts to it. If I'm gaining too much fat, then I know I need to cut down on my meals. I was just learning. It was like just hands-on experience, testing out my body, because no one knows your body better than you.
Right.
And so that's what I was doing. I was just like counting meals. They were prep meals, and I was just counting them, and then just checking, implementing cardio, and then seeing, just watching myself very closely.
How did you implement cardio? What were you doing for cardio?
So at first, my cardio, I have a bike, and the bike it's got 1 wheel in the front and 2 wheels in the back. So it's a trike, and I would pedal with it's a hand bike. So I'd pedal like this, and I would ride like 2 or 3 miles, for cardio. But now, I have a slip of wrestling mat, because like, I don't want to rip, like, the treadmill rips my butt up and stuff, and rips my shorts up. So I was like, I need to find a more efficient way to do cardio, because it's going to be like in my everyday life. And so I was a part of Elite Wrestling, which was a club that Frankie Edgar volunteers at back where, because me and Frankie, we know each other. We're from the same town. And so I got a piece of wrestling mat, and I walk without my arm. So I walk with just my quads, like back and forth, and I walk like that back and forth for my cardio now.
Oh, wow. Wow. That is definitely innovative. That's crazy.
I needed, like I said, I needed to just find a more efficient way, so I didn't have to rip up my shorts or get cuts all over myself on the treadmill. So,
and then, so you're getting ready for the show. And, I was a bodybuilding coach for quite a while. I coached a couple IFBB pros and a few men's physique competitors here and there, but mostly bodybuilding. But I know about the men's physique, the posing is very, very important. The posing. So did you have to develop your own poses and your own stance and things like that on stage?
No. So I wanted to, my main thing was like, I wanted to compete against fully bodied people. I didn't want to be put in another class. So I followed everything to a T, you know, the poses.
Yep.
But I've been blessed with having amazing friends in the industry that are extremely competitive bodybuilders, you know, pros, guys that, you know, don't compete anymore but have a huge impact in the bodybuilding world. And actually, about 2 or 3 weeks out from my show, we went to a camp with my buddies. They put on a camp. It's called Golden Aesthetics.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically, you know, a team of guys with amazing physiques, amazing posers. And, you know, I learned from my friends. I learned from just, you know, doing it. And it's funny, once I figured out, you know, where my body needs to be for the poses to look right, you know, the guys were like, dude, you're like a natural poser. Like, you don't really, you're in. And I was like, that's pretty cool. But yeah, I wanted to follow the guidelines. You know, I wanted to make sure my pose just looked like the guy next to me. You know, I was just a little bit shorter. And so it's funny to go back in my older videos and see me try to hit a lat spread, and it doesn't really look like a lat spread. And now, like, you know, it's come a long way.
Yeah, I think that process, a lot of people think it's just the training, just the dieting and things like that, but it's like a full bore assault on your lifestyle when you're doing something like this. And there's so much more to it than just hitting the gym and just eating right. There's a lot of mental stuff you have to think about. The removal of body hair and the tanning and taking care of your skin so your skin looks good, and the posing. I mean, posing is
everything.
So critical on everything, whether it's any of the physique sports, whether it's bodybuilding, men's physique, classic physique, all of them. And say, if you're not posing right, your body just doesn't look right up there. Yeah,
you can't portray the art the way it's supposed to. You know, if you can't hit the pose right, don't look the right way. So yeah, I was going through this prep. I did a 12-week prep, and like I said, I told people, I was like, when I get on stage, even now, my symmetry lacks on my right side. So I'm still trying to build, you know, full symmetry, my abs, everything. But I told people, I was like, my symmetry is not going to be the way I want it, but I'm going to compete anyway. Like, I'm just, you know, like, sometimes you're not going to be ready for some things, but you got to do them. You got to at least try them.
Yep. And so important.
Yeah. And I have a quick cool story about The Rock.
Let me hear that.
Yeah. So I went out I was in prep, and I think I was 2 weeks out from my show, and I went out to Vegas for Mr. Olympia. It's one of the biggest fitness expos, biggest bodybuilding competitions, and it was a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday. And Sunday I didn't make it to the expo. I just hung around the hotel for some reason. And then you know, I said to the guys, I was like, hey, you want to go lift? Like, let's at least do something. And they're like, yeah. So we went to City Athletic Club, which is one of the more famous gyms. Yep. And it's funny. I walked in, and KC came up to me, One Leg Monster. KC came up to me immediately. He goes, yo, bro, The Rock's upstairs lifting. And I was like, well, can I still lift? I still got to get my workout in. You know, I'm on prep. I'm 2 weeks out. He's like, yeah. So, like, I went up. I went up these stairs, and I remember right to the stairs, there was 2 bodyguards, and The Rock was doing dips, like, all hoodied out, like, bundled up. I'm like, holy shit, it's The Rock. Like, really is The Rock. And previously to that, The Rock had tweeted one of my videos because I sent it in for one of the baller contests. Mm-hmm. I sent him like a video of me bench pressing, and he retweeted it. So he already knew who I was. But, you know, I told my buddies, I'm like, you know, everyone's going to be bothering him for a picture. I was like, this guy already knows who I am. If he sees me, he's going to want to come up to me anyway. I like, just don't bother him. And so we went throughout our lift. And at one point, like, you know, I took my shirt off in the gym. I was shredded. Like, I was just like doing my thing. And at one point, you know, The Rock came over, he had his headphones in, and he was doing dumbbell curls next to me. And I didn't even look at him. To be honest, I didn't show him any attention. I didn't want him to feel like, you know, those guys get that all the time, you know? Yeah. So I'm treating this guy like a normal person. Like, I'm not giving him any attention. Like, we're just working out. And then he goes off in the corner, and he takes off his headphone, and people, you know, crowd, everyone's getting pictures with The Rock. And I'm like, guys, like, I promise you, like, just be patient. Like, it's going to happen. Like, we don't need to go over there. And I was right. After that, one of the security guard came over and said, "Hey, Dwayne would like to meet you privately. Is that okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course." And so they escorted us over into a corner, and I have it all. I have the whole thing on video, the whole interaction, and I was like, "What's up, man? How you doing?" And he was like, "I'm a big fan," and I was like, kind of blown back, and we were just talking, and he's like, he asked me first. He's like, "Hey, can I have a picture with you? It'd really mean a lot to me." And I'm like, "Dude, yeah, like, can I have a picture with you?" So we took that picture, and the one thing I told him afterwards, I said, I was like, "I really respect you. I really respect everything you do." And I was like, "It's funny. I tell all my close group of friends, I said, I'm going to do what you did." And what I mean by that is everybody knew The Rock for college football, and him about to go into the NFL. And then everybody knew him for the WWE. And then he branched out into acting, you name it. He was in every industry. I was like, I'm going to do that. And he said, "Nick, you're right, because people like me and you, they put us in any industry and we adapt and crush it." And I was like, that was like a big, like, reassurance moment for me, that, I can impact people up until the highest tier of celebrity, regardless of who it is. But like for The Rock to say that to me. And, I told him about my competition. I told him about my book. He loved it. And, the day of my competition, he posted me on his Instagram, and he thanked me for sharpening his perspective a little more on life.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Tell me about the competition, the actual day of. Like, what was the experience like for you?
So, that prep, like I said, my first prep was pretty stressful. I didn't cheat on my diet once. I didn't go out of line once. And that was in September, and that was when Hurricane Irma hit Florida. So even I had to evacuate from my place, and even through all the evacuation and the storm, and the show got pushed back. The show got pushed back a week, and then they said, "Okay, we're not gonna cancel it. We're gonna put it on the same day." And then the hurricane came, and they were like, "Okay, we need to push it back." And like like with competitors, like you're trying to peak. You have this peak week where you have to implement carbs at a certain time, implement certain amount of water so you look the best on stage. So I was like, I am not bailing on this. Like, this hurricane's trying to fuck me up, and it's not going to happen. And so it came to show day, and some of my friends, some of my wrestlers, they flew out from Jersey with my family, and some of my friends from my hometown flew out. And oh man, I was pretty nervous. Not really nervous, just anxious, because you put this work in for 12 weeks straight, and finally you get to show it off for 2 minutes on stage, 3 minutes on stage. And I'm in the back pumping up with my two boys. My one boy Cody, who literally trained me throughout my whole entire prep, was like my right hand. And he's just we were pumping up, and I remember just like getting ready to go out on stage, and you have your pre-judging and then you have your judging. So you have your pre-judging before, like, there's family and friends out there, but it's not crowded because it's just pre-judging. And I was pumping up, and we actually misinterpreted the time. So like I was late on stage.
Oh, gotcha.
So like I got out on stage and I was out of breath from pumping up. And so it's hard to pose when you're out of breath. Mm-hmm. And there's like some pictures of me where I have like a straight face because like I was trying to catch my breath, and you're supposed to smile the whole time. But, I was out there, and the thing is, people, I knew people would have clapped for me if I stepped out on 12% body fat, 15% body fat, but that's not me. I came out diced, and I just don't think people were expecting that. And I was pretty surprised about how lean I got. And I went out there and just, to show off what you just eat, sleep, and breathe for the last 12 weeks, to show it off to people. That's one of the moments that, every time I think about moments I'm grateful for, that's one of the moments, was that just that experience of competition. Wow. And so we did the pre-judging, and then we came out for finals, and that's when like it was packed, the lights are on and everything. And one of the best things. I do my front pose, and then my back's pretty sick. I have a pretty sick back. I have a very excuse me. I have a very small baby waist and that V taper, and my back's sick. And I remember I was hitting my front pose, and I was transitioning to my back pose, and someone in the crowd was like, "Show him the back." And, I hit my lat spread, and like people were like, the judges were like, "Whoa," like, people never seen that before. And, I just knew how proud of myself I was. I was proud of myself and how much light I was bringing to the sport and to the people in the audience. And that's really what, just really, really made the difference, because I know that I was hitting home with some people.
Yeah, that's, I think, especially for that sport where you get so much of it, it's all based on objective opinion, right? So when you're stepping in front of people who are literally judging you and putting their opinion down about you on paper. But I think whenever there's anybody who can bend their perspective on what the human form looks like and what it should look like, I think that's a good thing for the sport. And I think it's bringing light to a sport that, and this is bringing some of my own personal, but a lot of people in that sport feel sorry for themselves when they don't place and they don't, when they don't get what they want right off the bat. And I'm not talking about the pro guys. The pro guys are they're pretty, they're professionals, you know what I mean? Yeah. They know it comes with the territory, but a lot of people first get into that sport. They don't place how they want to. They throw it down. They never try it again. And that's not the way to approach it. It's about getting better. But, seeing somebody like you compete in this and actually put that kind of effort into where you could have gotten the cheers, but you decided to get absolutely diced and work your ass off. That's amazing to me. And that's what the sport is really all about, is pushing yourself.
Yeah. And absolutely. I knew how much, I'm going to be honest, the industry isn't one of the best industries,
Right.
That's just like plain and simple. And so I knew how much light I could bring to the sport. And, that was my goal, was just, bring some positivity but really, really show people what time it was, that I was working my butt off these past 12 weeks and I wasn't messing around. I wanted to get shredded and show people like, bro, like if this kid can dial down to 5% body fat, whatever it was, like I can do it. And that's what it is for me. Anything I do in life, anything I want to attempt or I want to achieve, whatever it may be, how can I bring value to others? How can I help others in any way, whether that's, just a mindset or just inspiration or making people laugh. It's always, for me, it's just like, I'm going to do this for me, but how can I bring value to others while I do it?
Yeah, that's huge, man. So you've done the competition. Now you're working on a book, and yes, you're looking toward the future, and you have a few more goals left on that list. You're trying to become a public speaker, right? And an author and these things. What's your book going to be about?
So my book, which the rough draft should be done this week, and we're gonna get things going, which I'm excited about. It's gonna be called Nick's Way, and it's called Nick's Way because it's based around, it's not fully, but it's based around the skill of confidence. And when I was younger, I didn't realize that confidence was a skill. I thought you were just either had confidence or you didn't have confidence, right? So to show people that confidence is a skill, and it's extremely important into whatever you're doing, to be confident that you can achieve things, and that what a skill you can sharpen it. You can always get it more. You can always get your skill better by just working on it. And how I didn't know how to do any of these things. I didn't know how to become a fitness model. I didn't know how to become a keynote speaker. I didn't know how to become, a mainstream model or break into the modeling industry, but I was confident. I was confident in myself that I could do it, and to show people, so many people are scared to do things, but I feel like they don't believe in themselves. And if you truly believe in yourself, you're like unstoppable.
Yep.
You can go out and achieve whatever you want. So it basically, it goes, story. It's like for each section, it's like a story, and then it's the principle, and then it's how the reader can apply it to their life with some exercises too. And so it's just like broken down in sections like sound mind, like always always challenging your mind, always personal development. You know, you need personal development because you need to grow. Whether, you know, if you're growing in one area, you need to grow in all areas of your life. So sound mind, sound body, whether that's, you know, you don't have to be super shredded, but just feeling active, getting in the gym, or living a little healthier lifestyle, your body and your mind are connected. Mm-hmm. So, and a good analogy that my boy Cody always tells me, because we like cars, if you have a Ferrari and you're putting regular fuel into a Ferrari, the Ferrari is not going to perform how a Ferrari is supposed to perform. It's not the right gas. So the body and the mind, they're connected and it's one. So when you put that right fuel into your body, it's going to improve all the other aspects of your life. So sound mind, sound body, manifestation, goal setting, you know, just showing these people these sections of my life, stories about my life, the principle behind it, and then how they can apply it to themselves.
That's awesome. And so you're finishing up the rough draft this week. How was the writing process for you? Are you spending most of your days writing? Do you have specific times in the day that you write?
So I'll be 100% honest. The book idea, we started it a couple months ago, and you know, I was like, okay, like I'm gonna write a book, and you know, I was writing, and then it was like 10 pages, and I was like, I'm done. And you know, I showed it to my manager and my friend. I'm like, hey, like this is what I got, and he's like, okay, we need to make this, like, we need to make this longer. There needs to be more value. So up until last week, we just recreated that outline of, you know, the story, the principle, and the application. Mm-hmm. So I got this whole new outline of the book, and basically, you know, I take each section and I've been just writing them. So I'm a night owl. I feel like, you know, you know, the night, it's just like calm. There's nothing around, and it's just me time. And I'm just like up, I'm up later hours. So I do most of my writing. I like to do it, you know, at night. But I want to get this thing done. You know, I want to get this out to the people, and you know, it's pretty exciting for me. To be able to have a tangible book, and it's my book, and I never had that done. So, you know, I'm pretty motivated to get this done. So I just started on the new outline, and you know, I plan to get this done by the end of the week or so.
Awesome, man. That's amazing. And so what else do you have in your prospects right now? What other kinds of things are you thinking about doing?
So right now, you know, the main thing I'm focusing on is building my speaking company as a keynote speaker. So just we're getting all of our marketing situated way, you know, anything, you know, I didn't realize how much goes into the backside of a company. Yeah. So, you know, we're putting all the right people in the right places, you know, just learning. I'm only 21, so there's a lot for me to learn about business. And so right now my main focus is speaking. You know, I want to break into the mainstream modeling industry. Right now, my modeling pictures on Instagram are my most liked pictures now. So it's funny how just like the demand of things or what people like switches. So, you know, the modeling, the speaking, the fitness is a lifestyle. So, you know, I can't let myself go. I'd love to just eat food. To be honest, I'm a foodie. I love food.
And you're Italian, man.
Yeah. We grew up with 1 protein, 3 carbs on the plate. So
yeah, exactly.
So, you know, one of my goals is with the speaking company is to, you know, really break out internationally, but that gives me basically opportunity to, you know, not only go out and do gigs internationally and, you know, impact people, get compensated for it, get a vacation, but I get to eat food all over the world. So I want to go to like Italy. I want to go to the Netherlands. I want to go all over and eat food. And when we look back at this in like 30 years, I'm going to have a show on the Food Network where I'm just eating food because that's how I want to go out. That's how I want to retire. But one of the things on the list, I mean, we're prioritizing the list that we know the speaking, everything. But one of the things that I want to get into is DJing. And, I want to become a DJ, and because, I love music. You know, I know every hip hop song, you know, there is out right now. Like I'm a big hip hop rap guy, and I want to, you know, as a DJ, they pay you for entertainment, and I know that I know through speaking I get a crowd hype, so I can definitely do it through music. I just got to learn. So here and there, I'm starting to learn DJ with starting to learn how to DJ with one of my friends. And but I don't know, it makes me smile because I really like music, and when I get onto something that I'm passionate about, I'm a force to be reckoned with.
I love hip hop too. I'm not a big fan of today's hip hop though. I'm a big '90s hip hop guy. Wu-Tang Clan, Nas, like
Nas,
a lot of
Nas
hip hop. Yeah. I just can't get with it, man. It's different. It's a different animal than it was.
It is, and that's tough because like if you want to get in the industry, you'd have to adapt. So it's good for me for like the DJing that I'm up to date with all the music, and I listen to it firsthand, and I love music, to be honest. It's something that I really enjoy.
Well, hopefully you could bring some realness back to the hip hop game, because
So one of our goals is, and I see a lot of rappers now for this year, it's like leave Xans in 2017. So leave, like, the Xanax, all the drugs that these, some of these rappers are getting together and be like, no, like, don't do this, don't do that. And that's the type of atmosphere I want to bring into the DJing world and into the entertainment world is, just like you can have a great time, like sober, you can be hyped to music, like regardless of, you don't have to do all these drugs to enjoy a concert or whatnot. And that's what I want to bring a positive, aspect to that industry.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome, man. There's so many, music's changing so much. There's so many different niches you can get into too. I mean, I've been really into EDM and dubstep and all these kind of new things that come out. I've been to a bunch of festivals, but like there's so many different venues that you can take advantage of. And the thing is too, with your social media empire, between YouTube and Instagram, you have a venue to do a lot of these things already, as far as the public speaking, getting your message out, putting songs out there. And it's great that we live in these modern times when this has been almost easier than ever,
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm grateful for the fact I've come to realize, it doesn't matter what I post anymore. It doesn't matter if it's fitness. It doesn't matter if it's modeling, if it's speaking, or if it's DJ. People love me for me and just, me putting out content. And that's something that, I take a sense of comfort in, because I don't have to, say like, what do they like? Or, what do people want to see from me? Because I ask those things and I'm like, bro, just do you. Just post what you want. We just love following your journey on life and whatever you dabble into. And I plan on dabbling into a lot of different things. Like I said, like DJing is, oh man, it's going to be awesome.
That's amazing, man. Do you have any personal habits or maybe pieces of advice for all the guys listening out there right now? Like I told you before we went on, a lot of these guys are veterans. A lot of them have been through a lot. What would you say to these guys?
I would say gratitude is extremely important. Us and especially controlling our thoughts. So we have this in the world, we have this big thought bank, this big thought bank of thoughts that aren't even our thoughts. And we have the opportunity to pull what kind of thoughts we want into our head, think what we want to think. So, pulling only positive thoughts, only allowing positive thoughts into your head, because, us as humans, when something negative happens, we tend to stack things on top of each other. We stack more negative. Then you have this negative day, negative week, negative month. You're just in a negative slump. So, train yourself to, if it's not a positive thought, it doesn't make you feel good, ditch it. Ditch that thought. Mm-hmm. And being grateful is extremely important. And one of the things I do, when you wake up, is you can either write them down or think of 5 things you're grateful for. Because what you're doing is you're setting your day up, feeling extremely grateful for, just the simplest things that, that you could be grateful for. Like the fact that we woke up today, the fact that we can see or we can touch or we can smell, just the little things in life that, we take for granted each and every day. And when you start your day off.
Oh, I do that every morning too, man. I'm like, wow, like I actually have it right over here.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So starting your day off with gratitude, because it's emotionally impossible to be upset and grateful at the same time. So when we start our day off, grateful, started off on the right foot, you that goes into the day, that goes into your work life, that goes into your personal life. You feel good throughout the day. So I for people out there, you know, only think about, you know, positive thoughts, you know, because thinking about the negative things, thinking about the things that we can't control, you know, those things don't help us. You know, we fuel ourselves with positive things. We're going to have a positive life. And that's the beauty behind life, is that we are the architect of life. You know, if we want to wake up and be miserable all day, we can train ourselves to be miserable all day. You know, if you wake up and you say, you know, I'm going to crush this day, I'm going to have a good productive day regardless of what life throws at me, you're going to have a good productive day regardless of what, you know, what life throws at you. So that would be, you know, that would be my main advice, is just be grateful, you know, because whether you think it or not, there is always someone that would switch places with you in an instant.
Yep.
You know, always. So, you know, being grateful, gratitude, living in a state of gratitude, because, you know, life is definitely way too short to, you know, like I said, think about negative things or think about the things we can't control in life.
100%, man. Nick, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you online? What's your Instagram handle and YouTube, and do you have a website up?
Yeah, so people can find me on Instagram at NickSanto534. No spaces. You can find me on YouTube at NickSanto534. You can type in, you know, zombie prank. You can type in Walking Dead prank. I'll pop up. I have a website. It's called rawmetalmotivations.com, and metal is spelled METTLE. But if you type in, you know, nicksantonastasso.com, or, you know, I bought all those domains, so no one can sell them back to me. But yeah, man, I just want to thank you. Like I said, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to come on here, you know, just share some of my life story, and like I said, just provide some value and some perspective for the people that are watching it and listening.
Yeah, and I just want to acknowledge you, man. This what you're doing is truly inspirational, and not just because of the things you're doing, but because of your intent in doing it, which is to inspire other people, which is to get other people to do amazing things with their lives. And I think that's a beautiful thing, man. I think that's so, and you know, regardless of what you do for the rest of your life, just having that intent, I think, is a victory. And means you've gotten to a really, really high place, man.
Thank you so much, man. It means the world.
Absolutely. Now, for everybody out there, I hope that you loved this podcast interview as much as I did. I am absolutely inspired, and I'm ready to attack my day. What I want all of you out there at home to do is one, to remember your gratitude. Remember to be grateful for where you are right now in this life, because like Nick said, anybody, there's a million people out there right now who don't have the luxury of living in the Western world, who don't have the luxury of everything you do, who would switch places with you in a second.
Yep.
And I want you all to get out there and live your best lives. We'll get back at you guys next week with another episode very soon.